viewers of OBN Horn of Africa, and this is our special edition. In this edition, we are going to discuss the issue of AU with Yadessa Bojia from Seattle. Thank you very much for joining us, Yadessa.
Thank you very much. I really like OBN and all your families in there. And I actually was in the studio in 2019 and did an interview there. And I have a very fond and good memory.
I know many people know you, but let them know you more. And who is Yadessa Bojia? Briefly tell us about you.
My name is Yadessa Bojia. I'm born in Ambo. I'm Oromo, and I born in Ethiopia, Oromia region. And then I came to the United States. So most of my work is associated with art. I am a painter. I'm also a designer. I also do music. So I delve into different artistic things. I'm known for designing the African Union flag. Everybody knows about that. And I also do a lot of other things, including, painting very famous people, also preserving some historic things, especially. And recently I was named a volunteer ambassador for Visit Oromia. So I also participate in that because I find the cause to be very honorable and very important to promote the peace of Oromia and also show what Oromia can offer to the world.
You said you are a painter, and therefore we have to talk about the art in depth. And how did you begin the artwork, and how do you see the journey of your profession, and as well as what are your career and even aspirations, and where do you want to reach?
Well, I started art as a child, actually. I was just interested with that. It's probably something to do with my brother who was painting at home, and then I kind of picked it up from him. But at the same time, when I was in elementary school, I painted a big mural in the school. And sadly, it is a mural about political propaganda for the Derg era. But still, as a child, I don't know what the difference was. So whenever I get a chance, I painted it. And that kind of have a long effect on me because I always see that mural. And then when I came to the United States, I spent most time in studying it. And I have 2 degrees, one from Seattle Central Design Academy and another one from Seattle Pacific University. So they're both 2 different degrees, so mostly focus on art. So that's what I've been doing. And, art have no limitation. So I focus on art on a daily basis. I don't even have like a goal to say I will continue to do art until the last of the days. Whenever I get a chance, I will use that talent to either inspire young people or do something for my country or for my people or for having that activism. Art can give you a chance to speak to masses. And I also focusing more now to use that opportunity to speak for peace and to make people united more rather than separate. I don't think my art needs to be used for destruction. It needs to be used for unity, for production, for creating something better for the world. And that's where I focus.
What inspired you to create the current African flag, and even what is the logo signifies, the philosophy, and everything that you are included in that flag? Please brief us.
Well, I spoke about this multiple times, and I'm happy to talk about it again. But from the answer I gave you earlier, I want my art to be something that gives hope to people. So when I was designing the African Union flag, I was more thinking about not the past bad and dark history of African with colonization and slavery and other things. I wanted to break that chain and bring something that unify Africa, give a new hope, new day, a new dawn in Africa. That's what I focused on. That's why there is a ray on African design. And that ray is the new hope. And as you see, Africa is really going to that direction because there is a lot of promising things happening in Africa, even including in our country, where we see people are starting to use their hands and their minds and their efforts to do something. Like we cannot, maybe we didn't reach to the promised land yet, but we are heading towards it, and that is a very important thing for me because I believe the real change did not come with what we grasp or what we see, as well what we're trying to do. If we instill that mentality of working to achieve something, the sky is the limit. We can accomplish a lot of great things. So when I came to back to Ethiopia, for example, when I see people work on the streets day and night, I was more impressed by the will to work, the people's interest to work and to conquer their own destiny rather than what they're actually working on. I'm not saying what they're working on is not good. I'm just saying I am more interested about the wheel of work. If we have that generation built with that kind of mindset, there is nothing we cannot accomplish because Africa have everything that God gave her. So go back to the design. The green color is trying to show the richness of Africa. The ray is to give hope. And Africa, the entirety was captured in that design. So actually, it is a design that united Africa for real. And now we're seeing it in every country, in African Cups, and world stage, everywhere. Like I even see it in New York City and White House and places like that, because now Africa is represented by that design. It's a proud moment for me, and it's also a proud moment for my country and my people.
Do you believe that the African Union or the continent in general adequately recognized your work?
Well, to be honest with you, I think less about me and more about the people. And for me, I think I get enough recognition. Um, the work speaks for itself. I always try to avoid the my me moments and focus on our moments. And I think every time the flag is waved around the world, it makes Ethiopian people or the people around Africa proud. So that's by itself is a great accomplishment for me. And I think there is nothing that anybody can reward me more precious and valuable than that. So that sense, I'm really recognized, and I'm really grateful for that. And also grateful for ordinary people that I met on the street, on places, when they show me their love, show me their respect. I was on um, EBS TV, and the hosts give me a standing ovation just celebrating my work. Things like that also add up, warms your heart, and make you want to do more for your country, more for your people. So I don't care about monetary fund rewards or unnecessary gratitudes, but what I'm looking for is a celebration of the flag or the design in people's faces, and I already get that for a long time ago, and I'm still getting it. That's why we're talking about it right now. So yes, I would say I don't deserve anything, but I got a lot.
Well, and you said work speaks for itself, and but how do you feel about your own creativity?
Well, my own creativity is a byproduct of my own feelings. So the way I lived, how I lived my life. For example, um, as Obian already knows, my father was one of the founding member of the Mecha and Tulama Foundation. Through that struggle, I lost my father, and so I have different stories that I carry with me, and those are also translated into creativity by themselves. So basically, um, when someone is an artist, it's not just a reflection of its own creativity; it's about the reflection of its surroundings and his lifestyle and who he lives with. So I carry a lot of Oromo culture with me, Oromo history with me. When I paint, like for example, like this, it's more like that's like an Oromo part that I was doing. I'm not saying I only paint Oromo things. I'm just saying I'm informed by my cultural background, and it's true. Like everyone is informed with that. if you're looking at a great artist like Meteor artist Afro Tekle or Namma Guya or Skindar Bogersia, and all of these great artists, they always have this background where they come from. And that's what informed their work. We artists open to all, and it's not meant to divide; it's meant to unify people. And so my creativity is based on that. And when I work in arts, that's what I think.
Well, and let's also speak about the pros and cons of art activism. And what do you think the pros and the cons of art activism? And what is art activism after all?
As you see, every artist has something to say, something to communicate to the people, something to tell the world. And art activism, in my mind, is when we use our artistic ability to speak for the voiceless, to help people understand or speak for on their behalf. Because around that, there are a lot of people who are voiceless. They can't speak. They can't get the platform. And artists have that opportunity to speak for those people. And that's the pro of art activism, because it gives us a chance to speak for people, to actually make people uncomfortable, to actually address some issues that they can address. So that is the pro card. And the other side of like I see a lot of people using activism for inciting violence, for profiting from violence, to create attention that is not having fruit to it. For example, in today's world, if I say, have a wonderful day, might be not even like 10 people will like that post or writing or art. But if I say, I'd like to do some bad thing to you, all of a sudden 1,000 people like it. So why? Is because sometimes negativity bears this false fame, false interest to people. And so artists have to be very careful not to be taken to that direction. No matter how much we wanted to reach out to the other world, we need to be careful that our work is not inciting violence, and instead preach peace and unity and create harmony between people. But sadly, right now, there are a lot of people who use art to incite people to create havoc, to organize wrong things. But artist's job is to actually make people empower, um, questioned, and incite or raise question that will benefit all of us, including the people in power. But it's not about raising havoc and creating a bad atmosphere where people will die and clashes happen and disturbance happen and progress will be hindered. So we need to be very careful about that. So that's why the pros and cons have to be really considered.
How do you also view the African Union as the key continental body? And do you think it is successful in uniting Africans around common interests?
Well, look, African Union still not accomplished all what he can accomplish, but African Union is going towards that accomplishment, and there is a lot of great works have been being done. Um, just bringing the leaders around the table every year by itself have a very good opportunity for them to see eye to eye, exchange ideas, pass very valuable things. A lot of people like to claim African Union as um, not that powerful, not that influential, but that is true for all world organizations, United Nations or any other countries. Um, but what is important to begin with, to have that unity, to have a body that speaks for African concerns will benefit Africans. So, for example, when they were invited to the G8 as a seat for African Union, it not just happened. It's because African leaders for many years struggled to get that hearing. Now they can sit in the G8 seat. So instead of them hearing about themselves as a guest in these meetings, now they can be one of the decision makers in that table. That's a big accomplishment. And also, African countries can be able to speak in one voice. for the world groups. And that's also very important. For example, countries might not see eye to eye because of the current situation. Let's say, for example, you take United Ethiopia or Egypt, Sudan or Somalia and East African country Ethiopia. They might not be in the same page, but when they are seen in the context of African Union, they still are one bodies. They stand for the same cause, and so that was a dream that built it. That when leaders like Nkrumah was thinking about the African Union, leaders like Haile Selassie, leaders like Jomo Kenyatta were talking about the African unity at that time. That was what was envisioned for us. And so African Union is not as successful as it's supposed to be, but it's going to that direction. And I think what we need to do is trying to help it be successful rather than condoning it, rather than being hindered it or discouraging it. Africans have to be united and help African Union succeed.
The other one is the perception of the Western global powers are changing their attitude or their perceptions towards Africa to some extent, if it is not totally. Previously, the continent was labeled as a dark continent, but now it is seen as a valuable by many rich countries, including the European nations. And what do you think has driven to this shift?
Here is what is most important. To begin with, Africa is a breadbasket of the world. Africa has a lot of resources, a lot of resources that can used to be tapped not by Africans, by other countries. For example, the greatest scholarship in the world, the Rhodes Scholarship, used to be the money that taken from South Africa. We used to be called Rhodesia. Even the land used to be named after the white colonizer that came to Africa. His name is Arthur Rhodes. And today, great leaders like Bill Clinton are Rhodes scholars. They use African money to go to school. Still to this day, that money is given to Western students. So Africa's wealth, this is just one of the examples. You can take the De Beer diamond, the world's biggest diamond production companies. You can take oil companies that benefited from Africa, still benefiting from Africa. All of that was because Africa was basically fighting between itself, and corrupt leaders and corrupt aristocrats used to give these Westerns a free pass to come and take whatever they want, right? So, but now Africans are waking up and they start looking at inside and start building on Africa. And those countries that used to take Africa for granted are being serious now. They start looking at the relationship in different format. So that's why, for example, there are a lot of African leaders we can talk about in a longer discussion that actually show that Africa can actually stand by itself and also can be in the table to decide the fate of the future of the world. Because the world without Africa is going to be a problem. For example, when these environmental disasters are happening, there is an environmental migration that happened to these Western countries, and that overwhelmed countries. So that European countries now understand that a safer Africa is a safer Europe. A safer Africa is a safer Asia. So they understand environmentally, they understand politically, they understand financially. Stable Africa benefit the world. When Africa is not stable, what's going to happen is the problem overflows to these countries, and it's actually really creating a havoc in European and Western countries. So those things, the 3 or 4 things that I mentioned, are a reason why the world's thinking is changing towards the Africa, because Africa is showing that it can stand by itself. It can be the next frontier because it have the resource, it have the manpower. Young people can be working and do something. That's why I like what I see when I come back to Ethiopia. Young people working on the streets and building streets, building freeways by themselves, because that what the kind of mentalities that take us back from that dependency into building our own African continent.
Regardless of its potential, regardless of its resources, Africa remains underrepresented on the global stage, as you know. And how long do you think this will persist?
I honestly, as an African, I think Africa don't have to ask for that, because Africa have to build its own media, its own world, in which, instead of knocking a door, we have to build our own home. You understand? Because no matter what we do, no matter how many times we knock the door, they probably open it once in a while. But if you build your own home, you are the owner of that land. You are the owner of that destiny. We have everything that we need in our hand now in order to build it. We have to educate our kids. We have to create these media organizations. We have to do our own things, because the technology is really in our side right now. Technology is the liberating force, right? So, for example, we used to have a hard time finding libraries in Africa, but now you have Google. You can actually find a lot on your cell phone. You can actually do a lot of great things now when you cannot do before, because technology is a biggest liberator, and Africa need to focus more in building itself and building its own house and building its own destiny rather than knocking a door. The thing is this is not to say that we don't create relationship with any country, including the Western countries, and benefit from them. But what I'm trying to say is this: you cannot deal with someone that respect you as a full person. So until we get to that point, we have to build our own.
Sure.
And that is a very important thing. There are great efforts in a Western country and great institutions, great people that do try to do great things for Africa too. And we can tap into that. We have the same thing from Asians too. We can tap into that. But the number one responsibility comes from us, from ourselves. We cannot ask for anything that we cannot fend for ourselves. And we have to do that because it's important.
Let me proceed to the issue of BRICS. Some commentators suggested that ongoing discrimination from the West may lead Africa to align more closely with the BRICS. Do you share this perspective?
Africans have their right to choose their destinies. So, in that sense, they can choose whatever direction they want. That freedom is what allows you to do that. So we have that freedom to do that. What I'm trying to what worries me a lot is not BRICS or Western countries or any of that, but I just do not. We don't have to replace one hegemony with another hegemony. We don't have to replace that and feel better about it. Again, we have to go back to our own self and stand by our own self. And I think we can do all of that. But when it comes to BRICS, if it benefits Africans, they have all the rights to try it, to be a part of it, and to compare the two things. Let's say you're trying to borrow a loan from a bank to buy a car, right? So in a program in Western countries, you can choose different banks and see which one is a better interest rate, which one have a longer term, which one is a good bank that guarantee you loan. That's the same thing that happens with African countries. They can choose and look at different opportunities that benefits their money. And if they came to a decision, if that was BRICS that we're looking for, of course, why not? But the thing is, again, the bigger problem is not who we are with. The bigger problem is what we do with ourselves is the biggest question.
Let me proceed to the geopolitical strategy in the Horn of Africa. And as the Horn of Africa becomes, strategically important to the global powers, what actions should Ethiopia and its neighbors take to navigate this pressure?
Well, listen, Horn of Africa is always important for the peace and security of the Gulf and also for the world. And it is that is the main reason why the world is always keep his eyes on Ethiopia and Egypt and anyone in Horn of Africa and closer to Israel and all that land. So far we are coming, we are going through this problem. Even if there is a lot of skirmishes, there is a lot of noises that happen because of the Renaissance Dam and other things. But I think what I'm seeing right now is the most important part of this is these countries have to be peaceful. They need to live with each other in a peace and harmonious way. They have to solve their problems around the table rather than with guns. And we don't need that kind of thing to happen. And so far, the skilled leadership that we're seeing keep that away. And still, to their credit, for example, if you think about the peace agreement that happened in Turkey and things like that, that tells you that the leaders are working tirelessly to avoid any unnecessary conflict. And that needs to be worked more because we don't need any conflict in that area. But at the same time, we also have to make sure that countries like Ethiopia can use their resources to actually give light to their people. So, for example, in Renaissance Dam, Ethiopia, there are some things Ethiopian country will bargain with, but there are some things we can't bargain with because it's our right to use our water and to create energy and to get out of this poverty that lived with us for many times. And kudos to the leaders that worked tirelessly to make this happen. So there is no returning back from that. But I think we can walk and chew a gum at the same time. We can actually own the water and live peacefully with our neighbors. And that is where the diplomacy has to be the front, not the other way around.
Finally, looking ahead, what are your plans for the future and how do you wish to further contribute to your continent, to your country, Ethiopia, and to Africa?
Very good. If God willing, I will try to open a school in Oromia area where I can teach art. It is really hard to do that. It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of land. It takes a lot of this and that. But I still believe that people will benefit from people like me who lived for a long time in the Western countries, learn a lot of different skills, have an interest in name recognition, face recognition, to be used as an example so other young ones learn special skills and learn from me and learn from people like me. And I think my dream is I am okay. I live a good life. I have a good job, a good family. But what I'm saying is I can give back by using myself as a way to educate other people. So if God's willing, that'll be my future thing. And I keep on talking about important issues like you gave me a chance whenever I get a chance. And so it's more about what I can do than what I can gain. So that's what I would do.
Anything you want to say?
Thank you very much, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. I was in OBN, and I met a lot of young people there. I actually gave one-day training in there about graphics and things like that. You probably remember that. And I met wonderful people there, great journalists, and I was impressed about how state-of-the-art this studio was. So continue doing great things, continue reporting unbiased reports, make people understand the news, and I'm always there for you guys, and I'm proud of you.
Yadessa Bojia from Seattle, thank you very much for your time and for your insights as well.
Thank you very much.
Dear viewers of OBN Horn of Africa, this is all about our discussion for this edition with Yadessa Bojia from Seattle. Till next edition, goodbye.